March 13th, and this is the Centerville Community School District regular board meeting for the month of March at 5:30 p.m. in the Centerville Administrative Offices. To everybody that's online, welcome. We'll start with our district mission that all students will learn well, become lifelong learners, and contribute positively to society. I'd like to call this meeting to order with a roll call, please.
Moore.
Here.
Wright Thomas is absent. Bob Thomas.
Here.
Shondal.
Here.
Berger.
Here.
Carter.
Here.
Liskus.
Here. And now we'd like to welcome all of our visitors tonight. We don't see anybody in the room, but I'm going to go ahead and read our statement anyways, as per our tradition. We'll now open the floor for public comment. I would remind all speakers that while this is an open forum for any issue, the board does expect all speakers to maintain a civil tone and refrain from profanity. I want to also remind all speakers that any comments that be made during public comment are done so at the risk of the person making the comment. The district will not be responsible for any defamatory or potentially defamatory statements which are made about a particular person. It's the board's practice not to engage or respond to speakers during the public comment session, regardless of the topic and or concern. The board wishes to further discuss an issue. It is an issue or an item that's raised in the public comment. It will do so by establishing an agenda item in a future board meeting. At this time, is there anybody that would like to make a public or make a statement in our public forum? Seeing there's no one in the room, we'll go ahead and move on with our agenda. I'd like to have a motion second to approve our agenda.
Motion approved. Second.
Motion second to approve the agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The agenda is approved. Approve the minutes of the previous meetings. There's 2 previous meetings in your board packet. I did read through those. I didn't see anything of issue. Did anybody see any, have any comments on meeting minutes?
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion has been approved, the meeting minutes from the previous 2 meetings. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? There is no old business. We'll move on to new business. First thing is approval of the Howard Phase 2 Certificate of Substantial Completion.
We are at substantial completion for our phase 2.
Basically,
That's what this
it's
is.
done in
Sorry.
it's the punch list is all done. Because there's a punch list in there, if you look through, it's like from September 2022, so. But everything is done, and this is to close out all the construction documents and make the final payments.
I think they had commissioning they were doing maybe.
But, so it was all signed off by FRK, so FRK and Ferris Engineering that the work has been done, so. Any questions on approving the certificate of substantial completion for payment? Or is it payment, are we approving payment on
No.
this? No, we're just approving the completion.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion to approve the Howard Phase 2 Certificate of Substantial Completion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Next thing is to approve the contract extension, or the fixed price contract extension of the documents of OPA. And I'll let Mark talk a little bit, at least talk a little bit more about this, but if you remember, we're in a 5-year contract. This is the first year has been finished. Per the contract, we have to do basically what's the cost adjustment on meals, and so we do that. And so this would be basically, the costing was in the, I mean, they take it out to like 6 significant digits on the costing on these meals, so. Is there anything you want to add to that?
So the way that the state sets this, and I'll probably say it wrong, so maybe correct me if I'm wrong, Lisa, but the way that the state sets the amount that we should do on this, because they basically tell us, the gal from the DE does, is it's based on consumer price index for food eaten outside of the home. So whatever that percentage is, that's the percentage increase that you should do with your food service company on your yearly food service reauthorization.
That's 8.3% this year.
8.3%.
Just like food eaten within the home, food eaten outside of the home has gotten very expensive this year.
So any questions, comments on the fixed price contract extension?
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion is second to approve the fixed price contract extension with both. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? All right. So we have two cooperative agreements, one with UNI and one with Morningside for student teaching. The contracts were in the packet. We looked through there. They're very different in kind of how they approach their things, but again, I'll let Mark comment on it, but basically this is, if we have this agreement in place, then that it gives UNI and Morningside, which has a big online program, the ability to send student teachers to us. Now, that doesn't mean we're guaranteed to get any, but if they were to send some our way, that would be beneficial, and I don't know what else to add on that.
That's really it. So this doesn't necessarily guarantee that we're gonna have student teachers from those organizations, but it allows us to have them. And they have that cooperative agreement, each college does. You'll probably see some more come in later this spring. If we have other programs that might have, like, maybe Vista or something on that order, may want to do one with us. Sometimes school superintendents just sign them, but we kind of felt because it's a contract, we wanted to make sure it came through the board. It's not a contract that costs us anything, it just says that our teacher, when they're providing for mentoring for the student teacher, they'll make sure they don't put them in illegal situations, that they'll guide them and they'll help them become quality teachers, which is a big deal for us. So this is it's a nice benefit if we can get some student teachers, because a lot of times when somebody's been in your system, they want to be in your system in the future, so it's a good recruiting tool.
I don't remember these contracts ever before.
Usually they're kind of backroom stuff, people just sign it and move on, but we thought, we're really trying to be careful about if it's a contract, the board gets to see it, and gets to be the one to decide.
Yeah, I mean, reading through it, I see absolutely zero drawbacks for us as a district, so, and I think that's, again, appreciate that coming to the board, just so we kind of have an idea of what's going on, so, I mean, I would make a motion to approve as presented.
But there is some good things in that contract that if a student teacher is substituting, that doesn't count as part of their time.
Right.
And that was an abuse that some school districts did. If they needed a substitute, they'd say, oh, go down there and teach that class, which didn't do the student
Right.
much good necessarily.
And in some cases, with some programs, they'll have a few extra hours still with the time that they're assigned, so you can do a couple days. But you're right, there are places that we're doing a lot of days, and it was really eating into those people's hours.
Real quick, it doesn't seem like we, for the last several years, had a lot of student teachers. Do you know who we currently have agreements with?
We've had a couple this year. I couldn't tell you who we currently have right now, to be honest with you, but we've had a couple this year. Couple at Lakeview that I can think of. So, yeah, maybe more elementary people than anything. Not a lot of secondary student teachers. That'd be a great area to aim for, it's always hard to fill some of those spots, so.
I second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, to approve the cooperative agreements with UNI and Morningside. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye, all opposed? Okay. We have one early graduate request that is a little bit different than what we've seen in the past, so Mark.
So this student is actually putting in to graduate an entire year early. The reason that this student did not come with the other students is because we had to see, I guess I'll use the construction term we had there, because it seems like it fits really well, substantial completion of some of those courses that she would have needed in order to be able to graduate at the end of the year. Now, our policy is that students who graduate a year early don't walk with this class, they can walk with the next class. So she'll get a letter that indicates that she's completed to be able to use for, she's got some post-secondary plans that she needs it.
Why would she have to wait a year to walk? Why do we have that? Who made that policy?
Good question, I don't
Doesn't
know.
make any sense.
Yeah, I don't know, kind of the history of that.
Bring it up, let's get rid of it.
Well, and actually, as we look at Iowa Association of School Boards recommendations, that could well be one of them, because I do believe that series has a lot of recommendations from them, so we've got things back
But that's currently in our board policy.
Right, so we have
we
to
have to
follow this board
policy.
policy, yep.
But I think to Bob's point, yeah, we could look at that, but
Yeah.
we just have to follow policy.
And there may be some legal reasons that I don't know. Being an elementary person for most of my career, I have to learn more on the secondary side, and that'll be an area where I'll spend some time.
Is the student okay with that? I mean, is there something we could do to look at to allow her to walk?
She's aware of it, yeah, for her, it's really just about being able to pursue what she wants to pursue.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm really excited about how driven and focused this kid is on what she wants to do.
That's awesome.
For a career, I think it's really cool.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion second to approve the early graduate of our one student as listed in the board packet. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye, all opposed? Okay, calendar adjustment. There's one day that we have to adjust on the calendar.
Yeah, so we had actually a miscalculation where we needed another staff day in order to meet contracts and everything. So February 19th has become, instead of a second Monday in a row of no school for students, it's now a student school day. And then 3 staff days at the end of the year. And the reason that that's important is that's when our high school teachers will be doing some of their moving of different equipment from one room to the next. So that buys some time for our high school staff to be able to move maybe things that are more fragile or more sensitive on their own. We'll give them some workshop time to be able to do that. And then when we look to build the calendar next year for the following year, we'll front load the workshop days at the beginning of the year, so they have time to make sure that their room is set up and feels like a comfortable classroom before school starts, the first day in the new building.
Motion to approve change.
Second. We have a motion second to approve the changes to the calendar as discussed. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye, all opposed? Okay. Discuss the 2023-2024 budget. Set the date and the time for the public hearing. Lisa, this is yours.
I don't know if you guys all got the new email today at 1 o'clock. The Department of Management changed a couple things in our budget file. So what I've printed out is your new actual information, because a couple things got changed. So I'll just go over some of the important aspects of the school budget.
You're doing the preliminary, this thing?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And this is really a summary of all of the actual budget file documents that might be a little bit.
And then we're gonna go line by line over this.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd just like to give a history of a lot of things. So state supplemental aid is, has been set at 3%. If you'll notice, that's kind of high compared to the last several years. I wouldn't call it high, but it's much higher than it has been in the past year.
Real quick.
Yes.
I know a couple meetings ago, you guys, maybe it's been a little bit longer than that, you were planning on 1%.
That's our projection that we're using in our 5-year cut for each year.
But the legislature came up with higher numbers than
Yep.
was expected, well, so did the governor.
Mhm.
The 5-year plan is trying to make sure we're on track from a UAB insolvency ratio.
Mhm.
That's why that's used very conservative.
So we can build that as a doomsday scenario for,
Yeah. Historic district cost per pupil this year is $7,659. So that's per student. Budget guarantee is a mechanism to postpone the impact of enrollment changes by 1 year. And then gives a little formula there. This year we had an increase in enrollment, so at this time, Centerville has 0 for FY '24, so we don't have budget guarantee.
That's because we didn't have a reduction in headcount.
Right.
So typically, we would see that as a Liz and headcount.
Yeah, and which has been historic here, so, or in the history, so, but not this year. The next slide is, not the full breakdown, but a summary breakdown of the FY '24 proposed property tax rate. Subtotal general fund levy, $9.75, instructional support levy, 1.38, management levy, 1.91, voted PEPAL, 0.909, PEPAL, 0.33, debt service is 2.68. If you'll notice, that's not 270, but, it's not worth it this year to do the surplus levy because it's for a very small amount and there are costs that are associated with doing the surplus levy to get it up to 270.
Let's talk about that for a few minutes though, because I think it's important to get out there that the max we can do by law is 270. The way our debt service is structured is kind of over years, kind of fitting with all the bonds and everything that, I'm at a loss for a name. Matt Gillespie, I can't remember, I forgot Matt's name for a second. So Matt, if you happen to watch this, I'm sorry. But so Matt Gillespie has scheduled all the debt service for us. There's gonna be in a few years from now, the number will go down that we need to levy for debt service. At that point, there'll be an option on the board to say, do we want to, what, does it go down to like 2.5 or something like that? Yeah, say it goes down to 2.5 is all that we need to levy for. The board will have a decision to make that says, we would still like to levy at $2.70. And what you can do with that is that excess debt service that you levy for can be put into an account and hold there. And you can accumulate dollars over time. And so when your bond is eligible to be called, you would have some cash to pay it off early, saving the taxpayer's interest. So what that comes to is you just have to levy a little bit more tax now to do that. But that is we're probably looking at 3 or 4 years from that.
I think he's.
2 years for the
2 years,
first small
yeah.
amount, and then the
Couple
third
years.
year is a big amount.
Yeah. But there's a few $1,000s of fees every year that have to go through that because of all the laws around
It
the
kind of
bonding and
seems
stuff.
to think that with our big bonds at least, that we'd save something on the order of $200,000 over the life of the bonds,
Yeah.
by doing that.
So it'd be worth doing it in the future, so.
So that's why debt service isn't 270 this year. So total tax rate proposed is 16.98534. And last year, or FY '23 tax rate was 17.11621, which is a decrease of 0.13086.
Now, that number can go down because the valuations have gone up.
And that's kind of some of what played into it, being able to go down this year too.
You claim you're not a math guy. You got it.
Just make good guesses.
Educated guess.
Next slide is, you like to keep track of any voted levies that we have, instructional support levy, final fiscal year is 2026, so we'll need to look at that stuff soon. And voted PEPAL is 2031. The next slide is just,
Okay, now that instructional support levy, would we let that end then? Would we vote on that again? Or-
yeah.
Okay.
Next slide is debt service, just so you guys get an idea of how much is gonna be paid in FY '24, the debt obligation from all the bonds. And it's just under 1.9 million, so, those are all the bond issues that this district has. 2 of them are general obligation bonds, and then the other, and then our sales tax revenue bonds.
Real quick, I guess, I don't know if this is regulating, so when's the rest of it anticipated to be paid off?
I don't have that in front of me, but I could get it.
I gave a chart out once.
Yeah,
See if I have a copy of it. I remember giving that chart out because Christian Nelson, this makes everything seem so much simpler. And I just remember that going,
Yeah, no, I
Anything like
remember that.
so,
Yeah, yeah.
no, this isn't it.
Oh,
That's not it.
Value engineering.
That's value engineering.
Probably look
If you, I can probably go and print that out if you wanted to, because it had that whole schedule on there. That's not it, that's value engineering. I remember I just had colors like that.
It was a 20-year thing.
Yeah, it showed out all of them.
But it's coming up
Yeah, I
fairly quick,
There it
is
I
the way
can
it
pull it
looks.
up for you.
I've got it.
Oh, you got it, okay.
The one that I sent you, man?
Kind of looks like 10 years, doesn't it?
Wrestling 2028.
Oh,
Yeah, that's,
okay. And we got the auditorium paid off,
The auditorium,
yeah,
the city
What,
settled, so
Simon
not making any
Estes?
payments, yeah.
okay. Yeah, I think we had money,
Yeah.
yeah, we got money from the alumni.
Yeah, we just have the wrestling room and then Lakeview.
Yeah, 2028 will actually have bonds. Bond for the wrestling room will be done, and 3 Lakeview bonds will be done. And then the last Lakeview bond will be done the next year.
yeah. I just remember from putting that sheet together, and if I can go back and find it and print it out, I'll do that. The bonding capacity of the district for the next 6 to 7 years is pretty minimal. After that, it starts to get healthy again. But we shouldn't have to have too many capital projects between now and then.
I would hope not.
And if you'll notice, there's 3 bond issues in there that actually, those were interest-free issues. So that's why there's 0 interest due.
Yeah, those were arranged by Todd Ferris through the electric co-ops.
Right.
What is the 2019 refunding?
That was also, that was for Lakeview.
Okay, that was one of the very first things we did when we got on, the 3 of us got on. There was a bond refinance to save $150,000
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah.
That was the very first bond that I remember doing.
It's just kind of the nickname on the paperwork we have, so that's why I called it that. Okay. And then the next slide is just like a breakdown, like we had in the previous slide, but with the historic 2017 on. So we're coming down a bit on tax rate, which is obviously a good thing for your taxpayers.
The people I talk to talk about the total amount they pay does not go down, so.
Well,
They don't give a damn about the tax rate.
Well, we're
and there's some
doing
truth
our
to
part.
that.
Yeah.
There's
Makes sense.
There's partial truth to that. So the district's budget is gonna grow every year because we're paying teachers more, the cost of education more, the consumer price increase went up 8%, we're only going up 3%, we're actually going up below what the rate of inflation is. So the valuations, it's just a mathematical formula to get to the same number of dollars, right? Because it went up. But we are actually taxing less based on, we're not taxing, we don't have the full cash levy.
Yeah,
So there actually is a total reduction. And as these bonds are paid off, and if we can pay them off early, there truly is if we didn't have the bonds, let me back up. You can't do it that way. It would not make sense the way I was gonna say it. We levied for the maximum amount of cash that we could. You just couldn't do that anymore. So if we said, now we can't levy for cash, and we did approve the bonds, yeah, the rate would be $2.70 lower. Absolutely would be. But we also wouldn't be getting a new high school.
And you'd be paying a lot of repair bills.
Right. Right. So, I guess the win's gonna be, keeping the school infrastructure up, not waiting 100 years to do $30 million across all of your buildings in one fairly short time frame. Is to incrementally take care of the buildings over time, which future generations are gonna have to do, but.
And then the last slide is, there was the document that's gonna be put in the paper, that you have to publish, shows your resources and your requirements. So, this kind of just outlines any of the major, not major, but anything that is a slight change or a significant change in the resources and requirements. And almost all of those have to do with, when ESSER funds were received or are gonna be received, with the high school and the other projects that we've had to do, so, nothing really out of the ordinary other than those two things that have affected several different lines on that, publication. So, if anybody has any questions, please let me know, otherwise, that is the rate that we're gonna publish in the newspaper, and that will be the, for our public hearing. And the board has to act to set that public hearing. That would be what your action is tonight.
So, yeah, the action is to, I guess we can discuss the budget, then when it comes time for it, we'll need a motion to set the date and the time for the public hearing as on the front of your presentation, for April 10th at 5:30. So we'll have that as part of on a regular meeting night, but it will be a public hearing before we do the regular meeting, if that makes sense.
And at the previous work session, we were a little bit worried about the timelines. They gave us an extension so that we could go to May 1st if we wanted to, but our county auditor got all of her evaluations in way before the deadline, so we're able to do our work and keep the timelines the same as every other year, so just wanted to give a shout out to her for that.
Just super efficient.
Yes,
Pretty awesome.
because a lot of other counties weren't, because you could see in the budget file, all the counties that hadn't got theirs in yet, and there were a lot when she had gotten hers in, so.
This is good stuff. It's good to review that every once in a while, because people like me tend to forget in my older years.
Any other discussion on the budget? Okay, so the action item we need to do is to set a public hearing.
I would make a motion to set the public hearing for April 24th. No.
No, no.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
It's right here.
That's what's on there.
Yeah, I've already put it away. I don't know what you guys heard, but April 10th is what I
You said
heard.
April 10th, I'll second that.
Yes,
At 5:30.
that's what I said.
At 5:30 PM.
Okay.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to set the public hearing for the upcoming school year's fiscal budget on April 10th, 2023 at 5:30 PM. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? You guys think this job's easy up here.
those predetermined motions like that, that's tough, you know.
You have to actually read.
Yeah, you couldn't just do a, motion as discussed. You couldn't do that one. Okay. The next one is going to require a roll call vote. So be ready for that one. So it's for the 101% budget guarantee resolution. Now, we'll let Lisa give the justification for doing this because our friend Larry Siegel at ISPIS is recommending we do this one.
Okay, so obviously in those slides, I said there was zero for budget guaranteed for FY '24. But Larry Siegel says that we should just do it every year, just in case something crazy happens and changes. If you don't have that resolution, you're not covered. And today at 1 o'clock, when I got changes, I was surprised by that. So I would just say we need to just go, that's what he says, and do the budget guarantee resolution every year, and then that way, if something
That way, if
drastic
we need it, we have it.
It's like insurance.
yeah, and it doesn't hurt to do it, so,
It's just that we'd have the resolution out there to request the budget guarantee. So the budget resolution is basically, we're asking the state for supplemental money because of various things that can come up. If we don't have the resolutions, we can't ask for it if the need comes up, so.
and if we don't need it, then
If we don't need it, it's just,
it's fine.
we don't use it. It's bureaucracy is what it is.
Yeah.
So, we need a motion to approve a 101% budget guarantee resolution.
Make a motion for the.
As discussed.
For the as discussed.
101% budget resolution guarantee. Guarantee resolution, okay.
Second.
I need a second for that. This will be a roll call vote.
Moore,
Yes.
Bob Thomas,
Yes,
Shondell,
Yes.
Berger,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Iskus.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Stuff.
The next thing is approve business, personnel business procedures, resignations, transfers, and all of this.
There was a transfer and 2 volunteers on the table too.
yeah.
Do want to make a note on the resignation. The resignation that you have in here from Joanne Bishop was actually received prior to the date for the early notification. She was erroneously left off the previous list. So you can see it was actually the 24th of January that we received it.
And I know typically we do just kind of do these all in one fell swoop, but there are some key changes in here, so I don't know, Mark, if you want to kind of touch on some of those.
I'm trying to think of the ones that maybe are.
Counselor,
Yeah, absolutely. I'm
Coaching.
super excited about, obviously, not to talk necessarily too much about individual employees at the board table, because there's certainly some protections there that I can't do too much, but I'm super excited about the work that Savannah Trower is gonna do for us. She's been coming out one day a week in order to get some practicum hours and to help us out, because we've been without support this spring, and she has already dug in. She's built some awesome relationships with kids, and is just a fighter for what's right for kids. So I'm super stoked about that. I think she will do a wonderful job for us.
You want to talk about the science teacher, what's her background?
So this is the science teacher that we had attempted to hire last year from, she's over at Moravia. We just caught her a little bit after she'd signed her contract there. She's an experienced teacher, super good from everything that I've heard from friends that direction. So I'm really excited about what she can bring to the table for us.
And the ag lady?
And I don't know as much, because I'm not on the interviewing committee, but I do believe she's coming over to us from Moravia as well, with a little bit of experience and some success, and building a really, really big FFA program, and I think Brad's pretty excited about her.
Why is the boys assistant wrestling coach halftime?
That's probably just how much we needed for that, because we have a couple assistants with that, so probably need halftime on that one. Which one,
Here.
Oh, that's because he does junior high first, and then comes over and does high school when that season's over.
Okay.
Okay,
that makes sense.
Yeah,
I just have a quick question or comment on that. Why is that one just finally coming to us
Which one?
on Owens?
I will tell you that is because I asked that it come as a contract instead of as just paying for hours for that amount of time. I wanted to make sure the board knew what we needed in that. So instead of just doing it as X amount of hours at an hourly rate, we wanted to make sure it was a contract that the board got.
Clean it up, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I just really like, because that's the right procedure to have for that, and this is something that we've talked about. If that's something we want to do in future years, then we can roll it out as something that we do every year and roll it with the other contracts. With the split season coming our way for middle school in the future, that may affect some of that timing. So Rich will do a little bit of work to figure out what we need there, but you may well see a contract like that on the list for next year in order to help out with that.
So, has he already been paid?
No, we have to approve them first.
And the other thing is,
I think that's right.
That is
Yeah,
right.
okay, I wanted to make sure I wasn't misspeaking.
Mark, the head baseball coach is, I see it's in Paloma. It says interim.
Interim, yep.
Is he just going to do that for 1 year? I know we
His
discussed.
desire right now, it sounded like, was that, and I think, you know, Rich wanted to make sure he had enough time to do a proper interview process and find the person. We've had baseball activity going for, well, since late January now, so, we really needed to get somebody to get the ball rolling. I don't think you roll the ball in that sport, but, all right, fair enough, to get the ball rolling, but, then we'll do a proper hiring process for the full-time, permanent person next year.
Look at Savannah's, whatever
Okay.
this form is we fill out there. This background checks, I noticed the principals are using a different form than Rich Park. We used to have 4 categories, fingerprinting and sexual abuse and all like that. Now we're down to 2 things. What is principal, and SING, what's that? Are they combining things together?
The same covers all those Iowa things.
Sing covers the 3 registries and the Iowa criminal background. And then-
Looks like we need to give, Rich, well, it's also non-certified, but we probably need to give him a new updated one. He probably has one in his office that's old,
You know, I
We
noticed-
talked about background
yeah.
checks several months ago, making sure they were completed before they came, or as much as possible.
And I think, so that's where, like, you check those 3 registries if you've done the same, because the same does the 3.
And then the fingerprint takes care of not just the state of Iowa.
And so you will notice that the fingerprint is not checked on some of the teacher ones that are new hires. Because if we wait the 3 to 3.5 weeks to hire a teacher for that, then we won't hire anybody this hiring season. So we won't employ a person who doesn't pass that. So even if we say things are good, but they do not pass that, we'll pull it, we won't have them on our roster. But to make sure that we, in a tight, market where everybody's offering and trying to get the people snatched up before there's nobody left, it's like musical chairs, right? We have to move kind of quick, specifically, I'd say at the secondary level, those are a little bit tougher sometimes.
Yeah, I did see what you were talking about, Bob. So those 3 registries are the same.
That's what I figured, but I just wasn't sure. First time I've seen that change, I think.
Can we do all those together except for Nick, so I can thank him that, he's my cousin. So it's just-
So removing Nick out and,
Yeah, we could.
I don't think there's a problem if you voted for Nick, I think it'd be okay.
Not that it really matters.
But, I mean, if you want to, that's fine. Any other discussion on it? Do you want to talk about any others?
I think we're good, unless anybody wants to.
Okay. So then if we can have a motion second to approve all but Nick's, then we'll have one just for Nick.
So moved.
Okay. Motion second to approve all personnel business procedures except Nick Paloma, which we'll take up on another vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? All right. Motion second to hire Nick Paloma as the interim head baseball coach.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion second for approve the contract for Nick Paloma to be the interim head baseball coach. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, all opposed? All right. And we have one abstain.
Do also just want to say thank you to the volunteers for the duck shooting. Looks like we got a lot of great volunteers, and what was it, 75 that went out there, so they're out there. Thank you. Thank you to those volunteers for stepping up for that.
Okay. Great. And financial reports.
I'm gonna raise a question on the second page 1. Down here where we hired that speaker to come in, and I just can't believe we pay somebody $10,000 for 1 day's work. That just bugs the heck out of me.
as we discussed earlier, that's kind of the going rate for speakers right now, unfortunately. I believe, there was a speaker last year at 15,000, as I understand it. Speakers are expensive. The funds that are used to pay for that are TQ funds that are, the decision for how to spend those funds is made by the TQ committee, which includes an equal number of teachers and administrators. And the committee voted to hire that individual for that. Yeah, speakers, we're in the wrong business. Speakers make bank. It's amazing, if you look for some of the top tier speakers, usually you can be looking in the 20,000s.
Absolutely.
It's scary.
And I'm thinking that when we did that workshop, from the School Board Association on education, I think she was 2,500 if I remember right.
That sounds
They
close.
came here to us,
Yeah, we spent an evening.
Tammy,
Yeah,
she was 500.
she was $500, okay.
Oh, 2,500 is the policy thing. That's right.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
But see, there's a different, and I agree with you, $10,000 is a ridiculous amount of money, it makes me wanna get into public speaking. Tammy Drabaugh is an IASB employee, her salary is paid by that, paid by our dues and all that kind of stuff. What basically they're charging us $500 is just to cover some transportation expenses. I don't know if she gets a stipend for doing it in the evening, I don't know. It seems like it's a lot more just, I would think if based on the speaker fee that we had, if it was like $2,500 for the day, would seem more reasonable. I agree with you, $10,000 a month, but it's also, we have, the way that the state has set it up is here's the TQ dollars,
Right.
and the way it's set up is this, and I'm not sure that based on the whole fact that TQ day is voluntary, so we did not have 100% participation rate. It does definitely make the, I guess, per person in attendance that much more expensive. And so it is certainly a huge expense, and it's a huge expense out there for one person. The TQ committee gets to spend the dollars. Now, I think there's a challenge to go back to the TQ committee and say, can you find a different way to spend the money?
Their hands are pretty tight on how they can spend that too, unfortunately. Now, that's one of the things that the state, with the new changes, did open up some flexibility with TQ, but it was to convert TQ into a TSS payment. So it's not a ton of flexibility, but there is some flexibility there from some of the changes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think it's a valid point, Bob. I'm in agreement with you. All right, anything else on the financial reports?
The only question I had was, there was another $10,000 therapeutic classroom.
Yeah,
Yes.
Eddyville.
Yeah.
So that's a consortium that we're a part of with Eddyville. We have a few students there now, and so we have seats for students with.
How many do you think we have there?
I wanna say we have 2 there right now, but I think we can place up to 5 or something on that order. And it's for students with severe socio-emotional needs.
I assumed as much, but.
Yeah.
Let me bring up another issue. When I went to the play, they said the $5 we were paying was to pay the entry fees for speech contests. But why isn't the school paying those entry fees? We pay for track meets and wrestling meets. And how do I know which groups get paid for and which groups don't get paid
It's the
for on the school?
same as what we talked about with TRAP at the last meeting, so it's what bucket of money you can use to pay for what.
Track meets, all of those entry fees are paid for out of the activity fund.
And so that speech would be paid out of activity fund?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the speech and drama activity fund,
They don't,
probably have some
yeah,
reciprocity with each other in that
Right.
case, yeah.
yeah.
Say that again?
The speech and drama, activity funds probably work with each other there.
Speech probably doesn't generate enough money to pay for that, so.
Oh,
Kinda like, we've talked about, like, maybe soccer doesn't generate as much gate, so sometimes football can help float it. So it's the same idea there, the play and the musical usually bring in a little bit more for that kind of drama and speech area than speech does, because speech doesn't have an entry fee for anything.
Just wanna make sure we have equity.
Yep. As a music person, I'm a big fan of that, you know, I really get into that. But yeah, that one's pretty legit.
Okay, anything else on the financial reports?
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion second, to approve the financial reports, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, superintendent reports.
Okay, so I'm gonna steal a little bit of some of the stuff that Aaron would share if there were a maintenance report, but just because I wanna keep you all up to date. We got an update on Thursday, at our construction meeting. The precast, which was supposed to be delivered this Wednesday, will now be delivered the week of the 27th? Yeah, the week of the 27th. So it'll be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, possibly Thursday, depending on how everything works and tying it in and all that. So we will have precast delivered that week. The gear switch, am I saying? Switch gear, and switch them around. The switch gear item has been resolved through the companies. So one of the companies made the decisions there to resolve that, so there was no additional cost to us, as we had expected. So we've got all of that rolling. You'll see steel going up. You probably have already seen some
There's a
steel
little bit of
going
steel
up.
on up.
Yeah, so you'll see more of that in the coming week. And we will start to see some really good progress by the end of the month as a result of that precast coming into play. Other than that, just continuing to work through some of the items that we've worked on and discussed as a board. And I'm doing some work on my evaluation to be able to get that out to you, so you have a couple weeks to study that prior to when we meet for the evaluation.
All right. I think I'll just kind of, before you go to board takeaways, is our next meeting is gonna be March 27th. That'll be our board work session. That is gonna be at Lakeview. It will not be here. It'll be at the same time at 5:30. And what we're gonna happen there is if we have some issues that come up, we'll have a short regular board meeting to have on any action items that we have. Otherwise, we're gonna turn it over to Mark and Terry and her crew down there to give us about 30 minutes of what we've asked for. Showcase your buildings, your teachers, whatever you're doing. We're giving them full license on kind of what she wants to do, so I'm kind of excited to see what that's all gonna be. I kind of want to tease her, but I don't want to tease her, I just want to be surprised. But, you know, bring some of her staff in and kind of do whatever. And based off of what the video that we had a couple weeks ago, I'm pretty excited for some things that they'll do. And then, so that should last about 30 minutes, and then what we'll do is we'll go out, and you're on, man, at that point in time. So Mark and Aaron have been working on a long-term, which when I say Mark and Aaron, I should probably say Aaron, has been working on the long-term facilities plan, and just kind of walk us through what we're gonna do and kind of how are we going to maintain the building over time now that we've spent so much money on it over the last several years. And kind of the goal is there is to get out of the habit of sometime in late May or early June, we get the summer's maintenance plan and budget. We're gonna have a 5-year plan out there. It'll be a living document, but it will give some, I guess, a long-term focus on what we want to do to maintain the buildings. So that will happen at Lakeview on the 27th. And actually, Mark and I are gonna go on the pitch that morning, kind of talk about what we're gonna do and all that kind of stuff, since I think the pitch will have a very difficult time to do the live stream as we walk around. So I think they'll probably come in, do the first part of the meeting, but when we go to walk around, they'll probably cut their light. It's just be too hard with groups and so forth. And there will be, I know, when we walk around, I'll remind again in a couple weeks, when there's the tendency to straggle and dawdle. And so one of the task requirements is to have I call it a cat herder. somebody to keep everybody moving along, and I think you actually had a different term for it, I don't remember what it was, but,
Can't remember. So I'm an elementary person, I called it the caboose, I think.
oh, the caboose, you
Yeah,
keep everybody.
so,
So, this summer, when Mike and Lisa and Mark and Aaron and I, we walked 3 buildings, we didn't do, Lincoln, we did the preschool, well, it was 6 hours. Cause what we would do is we would just stop and talk about stuff. Part of it was Mark was, new to the district and everything, but we went down deeps into the bowels of the buildings and we would start talking about all these things. And then other issues would crop up, and policy issues and things like that, and we start talking about, this and that. If you want to be there for 3 or 4 hours to walk through the building, we can do that, or we can just we're gonna have somebody that's supposed to push the caboose, okay? But I would think, an hour or so to walk the building would probably be, right?
Take a note. If you have questions, just jot them down.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a public meeting, it's an open meeting. Any of the public can be there and walk with us. There's nobody that's restricted to doing this. But since it's a work session, we won't be taking any votes on the action items, but we probably do need to make sure we kind of stay as a group and for group conversations, so there's no separations of people going off. Just, even though we're an open meeting, you get this weird, whenever you do these tours, you get this weird, well, these 3 people over here talking about this, and we just can't have that, so we do need to stay as a group, if that makes sense from an open meeting law perspective. Okay?
Okay, quick question on the board dealing with the high school.
yeah,
So, on the calendar part, where we extended things, you mentioned something about having more time at the end of the year to move stuff. Are you talking calendar year or school year?
school year.
Okay, because weren't we supposed to be moving in December and
Remember
January?
when we went out to bid, we allowed for extended to June. That was the change that we made that helped us get a lower, I'm painfully saying.
That would have caught me too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
Because we were out in the building last week and we're kind of looking at the FFA building and the wing and some things down in there. And I went through that. Now, when are we moving again? Because I remembered that and I forgot that we had. it.
I'm very happy that it worked out that way.
I think so too.
so real quick question, what's the delay in precast?
Just the precast company and getting their driver to be able to get it here.
That is one thing Mark and I, because I did go to that, you ever watch Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Mhm.
It's where the bids and the deadlines don't matter.
Yeah,
There's,
yeah.
It wasn't footings or concrete or anything like that, they're ready to go.
yeah,
They were ready to go a week ago, but
Bi-State was ready, it's just
Yeah,
a matter
our
of the
guys
company
are-
bringing the stuff in for
So
them.
like,
So there's
it's kind
somebody
of getting
going to
offline a
work
little
also.
bit here, but,
There is, yeah, there's a delay in bricks
so what are
also.
we gonna do as far as,
You're worried about traffic.
yeah,
Yes.
big time,
well,
Yeah,
and parking, because they're gonna need that upper lot.
and parking is probably the bigger concern during that
Yeah.
time, so
Yeah.
he did talk about, he'll need to work with the city to try to get half that road. And then people will still be able to get by, but it'll be just getting by. And then we talked about maybe encouraging our people to go out the exit through the parking lot the other way instead of coming out there when they leave. And he did say, like, arrival and dismissal, they'd make sure to not be in the way for that, then work during the day.
and of course, the precast, the majority of setting the precast, the crane will actually be inside the construction area. It's just sitting that north wall will it be in the street. And then they will work around that with, of course, what you said, arrival and dismissal times.
Yeah. They were really good about, making the statement that they understood that they needed to be aware of arrival and dismissal time for our kiddos trying to get there. There might be a couple spots, it sounded like right by that, the little island there in that parking lot that's got a tree and a garbage can and some grass. That couple spots right next to that might have to get blocked off just for being able to move some things through there, but they thought that it wouldn't take too many spots out of that for us. They thought.
I will not be.
Okay.
They, Bi-State also said they have a person they're gonna designate out there to, direct traffic all day long.
You can direct traffic, you just pretend it's pancake day. Okay, anything else for Mark before we do board takeaways? All right, and kind of like who lines is it? I just kind of made up the order for tonight, Chris.
First, yes. Lisa, thank you for this. This is amazing. This kind of stuff just, yes, this makes me visualize exactly what we need to be focusing on. And I appreciate that.
Tim?
I'd like to give a shout out to the drama department. I was able to take my daughter to one of the productions. It was at the high school, and it was a really good show. It was a good comedy, and I think we probably have a future drama student. Probably she just thought it was awesome. So when she got to watch the junior high one during the school day, she was in fifth grade, and she just really liked it.
They're both hilarious, weren't they?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So that's what I got.
Derek?
Well, I will echo Chris's on the numbers. It makes it a lot easier to kind of visualize, but then kind of tap off of Tim a little bit. Huge kudos to the band department with their jazz concerts a week ago. That was really exciting, especially just to watch the progression from middle school to jazz one in the high school.
And there was about 350 kids on there with the junior high jazz band. It was amazing.
Yeah. So definitely good to see that, and then good to see the support. I think it was a pretty well attended concert. And then again, the last couple construction meetings, I jest about the deadlines and suppliers and whatnot, but it's just these last couple of meetings, just an hour at a time for me is certainly opened my eyes to Aaron's day-to-day, to Mark on trying to oversee this, and I think by the time it's all said and done, I might know how to build a high school. So,
All right. Bob?
Yeah, I'm agreeing with what everybody else said. I'm gonna go a different direction. I think we need to look at the board policy section that deals with censoring books, or the concern about what books are in our library. I think we need to have that knowledge in our head before other people appear and raise some questions to us. I think I talked about that earlier in this school year. But I think we really need to look at that section and read them and talk about it. But I also realize there's some laws that might change what our policies are. So maybe gotta wait till the legislature's over there, but we need to have that firmly in our heads of how that works.
The good news is those were some of that first batch that we did this year. So they were ones changed by last year's laws, so there'll be, I'm thinking you're right, it's looking likely that there will be some other changes to come from this year's laws, so we'll probably touch them again through board policy review. But yeah, those are very timely policies.
Are you saying we also need to go and review what books we have on hand?
No, I'm
Okay.
just saying,
Just the policy?
we need to understand our policies before we have a problem.
Got it. Michael?
I will echo everything everyone said because you took all my stuff.
Sorry, man.
But no, I do want to just point out, I am very, very happy and excited with school year is gone. And I'm gonna put it out to Mark, it's because of your leadership and it just trickles down. Everything seems to be working really, really well in the district right now. Glad we spent all that extra time doing what we had to do and, so, for the entire staff.
They're a good staff.
Okay, and I'll tell you, it's, I'll let you echo that one, it's just, lots happened this year, but I have never been more excited for the direction of the school district than we are right now, so, for a ton of reasons, a million reasons. I think Mark and Lisa got a good handle on what's going up in here, there's good things going on in the buildings, we're investing in the infrastructure, so that's awesome. I guess my takeaway is, I want to comment on the UNI, the Morningside agreement. glad to see that we're doing that. Now, I don't know if we've had them before, at least now we as a board know. And it would be, and I'm sure Mark will, is probably already thought about, is actively pursue getting and saying, not only do we want the agreement, we want you to send some, how can we help you send some? And I'm thinking, what is the biggest challenge for, because I had two daughters that student taught. And one of the biggest challenges is housing. So my oldest actually got a music education major, and the college didn't have that program. So they customized and built a program for her. So she got a music degree and an education degree. And we knew going into that she was gonna be 4.5 years, so she had a fifth year, one semester in her fifth year to do the student teaching. And I remember I had the joy of writing a tuition check for her never going to that college that semester. And all of the expenses that went along with paying for a place for her to live. So there's a cost to parents to have their college kids go and student teach. So if we get somebody, it's what can we do to help encourage somebody who's not from the district? And I don't know what that idea is. But it's, you can't help with the tuition. I mean, the parents just gotta suck that one up. But it's what can we do to help encourage student teachers by helping from a housing standpoint? I don't have the solution.
But we maybe could find some people who would be willing to take people in their home.
Yeah.
In the old days, when the little towns didn't have any apartment buildings at all, and the superintendents would ask people in town to rent part of their house out.
Yeah.
And it worked.
But if we had that list, then it would be that much easier to say, yeah, we've already got some housing arrangements. So, it's good thought. It is. Yeah, okay. So I don't have any more takeaways. And I know we're going to adjourn here now. It is extremely, in 3.5 years, I think we've had, 3 people come to the board meeting? And we had somebody that walked in late today and everybody looked at him. So if everybody's wondering who this is my best friend in the world who drove from the other side of Knoxville, Tennessee today. And he's gonna spend the week with me. So this is Andy Rock, who's my closest friend in the world. He just came and hang out. So if everybody's wondering what it was, like, who's that stranger that's coming in?
What's happening now?
Yeah. And so-
I got complaints.
You could have said that earlier.
No,
I'm the closest to the door.
They could have offered to fly down and pick you up.
Yeah.
yeah.
The weather was pretty.
We're gonna go fly tomorrow. So you're on the hook this week. I have my enabler right now. So, but anyways, no, he and I talked about it. Says, nah, just walk in. They're all gonna wonder who you are. You're not even the ones who know. This will be good.
Awesome.
So anyways, so that's who it is. This is Andy. This is the school board. And Mark's our superintendent. Liz is our business manager. And Aaron's our facilities director. And a shout out to the guy in the hat in the back. He's our IT guy who's going to close our meeting out as soon as we adjourn. And with that, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Motion second adjourned. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That Cameron, you can cut us off, and thanks for your help.